if you're watching this video right now and you're not collecting that much data on your business, I can guarantee you're setting yourself up to fail. You might think you actually know why your customers stay with you. You might think you know what your projections are, but if you're not gathering your data, you actually have got fundamental problems in your business that you probably aren't even aware of. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing today in this video is firstly explaining what kind of data we collect and how you can also collect relevant data that's going to help you to make better decisions. Now, just before I get into it, I want to share a quick story of why data is so important. And one of the really easy examples when it comes to understanding data is the fact that if you measure something a lot, it will get better over time, even if you don't actively do anything. Okay, so I'll give you an example. If you're trying to lose weight, even just by weighing yourself day in, day out, if you just weigh yourself every day, subconsciously, your brain is going to think about the fact that, maybe I'm not the weight that I want to be, so I'm just going to, maybe not have this snack today. Subconsciously, your brain starts to move towards getting the data to where it wants to be. So just by measuring yourself, a lot of rich people talk about this as well. They say every day when they wake up, they look at their bank account. And if they're not happy with it, they're like, okay, what have I got to do to get to this point? Mentally, just being aware of the data has an influence on your behavior, and that's why it's so important. Because what we're trying to do with this data is influence your behavior so you're more likely to be successful. You want to make more money. That's why you're in business. You want to be able to provide for yourself. You want to be able to explore new opportunities. All this stuff comes when you can understand your data well. So what I'm going to be showing you now is a monthly report of what data we collect month on month, and hopefully it can inspire you to understand what data you should also be looking out for and what you can do to collect it. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen and you can see this is the monthly report that we use. This is in Notion if you're curious, and if you want this template, just drop me a message and I'll share the template with you. But here you can see we've got the monthly report, and just as an overview, we'll just say who's being created by, what the date is, and then we do a summary, but we do the summary at the end once we've actually collected some data. So firstly, we go through financial metrics, okay? So what was the total revenue and what was the monthly recurring revenue, okay? We have a subscription service, which is why this is quite relevant. If you are more of like an e-commerce store where it's like one-off payments, you probably don't need monthly recurring. You're probably more so looking at just total revenue. The reason why we have total revenue and monthly recurring is because we also have some one-off payments. Sometimes people might bulk buy like just a block of sessions and it's not a subscription basis. So we need to have both revenue and monthly recurring. Okay. We also like to see, are we growing? Are we shrinking? What's going on with the revenue? Are we making more money or less money? And then we look into more so customer metrics. Okay. So these next three are CAC. So what does it actually cost us to acquire a customer? So if we spend £500 on ads, like how many customers do we get out of that? Okay. If we're doing outreach, if we get referrals, like what is the average cost of us acquiring a customer? And then off the back of that, we also look at the average LTV. If you're not familiar with LTV, it is the lifetime value. So let's say I have a customer that pays me £1,000 a month and he stays for 6 months. The LTV of that customer is £6,000. Okay. Now, LTV is important to understand like how long someone stays with you and how much value like a customer actually has to your business, but it's actually more important to know the lifetime gross profit, which is the next thing, which is essentially, imagine they stay for 6 months, £1,000 every month, that is 6,000, so that's the LTV like we just mentioned, but it might cost £500 you've got to pay me every single month, which means that over the course of 6 months, that's 3k you've got to pay me, 6k is what you generated, 3k you pay me, that means you've got 3k left over in terms of the actual gross profit that the business generates by having that customer. So LTGP is really important because if the cost to deliver outweighs the cost of acquisition or the amount that the customer actually pays you, then you're in a problem, right? So just to give you an example, if I do have a customer who's got an LTV of £6,000, but then I pay myself £8,000 to deliver because I'm hosting the sessions or whatever, maybe I'm getting resources and stuff for them. If I'm paying myself 8,000, you might look at LTV and be like, wow, £6,000, that's great. But then you're actually not even making a profit. So you really want to know what your LTGP is. And then what we do is, this is a ratio that Hormozy shares. He says your CAC to LTGP should be a minimum of a 3-to-1 ratio. And the bigger the ratio between your CAC and your LTGP, the healthier the business typically is. Okay, so those are why we collect those numbers. And then lastly, we've got return on ad spend. So if we spend £100 on ads and then we close £500 in sales, great, we've got a 5-to-1 ratio on ad spend. Okay, very important stuff to know, and it also just helps us like give an indication of like, are things going in the right direction for us, right? So moving on, we have client metrics. So how many clients do we have active? We've also got a free academy. So I might mention we've got 40 plus entrepreneurs in our free academy. And some of those people are there just to kind of like be around other entrepreneurs, but then sooner or later they'll ascend. So it's also important for us to know how many people are in like our free client pool. And then we've got ascensions as well. So how many people are the free people, or how many people that we've got current coaching clients actually decided to buy more from us this month, and what was the reason for that as well. So we can look into that number too, month on month. We also got new clients, and then we've got client retention rate and also client churn rate. And then one of the big ones is testimonials collected, right? So in testimonials collected, we actually only collected one testimonial over last month. We have more customers that could have given us a testimonial, but because we weren't collecting the data, it wasn't front of mind for us to go and collect some testimonials. So that's why we added it to the client metrics. Similarly, lead generation. So how many leads have we generated this month? What was the conversion rate? How many of those did we actually close? What's the cost per lead? How much does it cost to actually just generate a lead? And then sales pipeline value. This one's a really important one, okay? So sales pipeline value is, let's say you generate 100 leads, and then in your pipeline, you've got like 100,000 worth of sales. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, next month I need to focus on getting more leads because we haven't closed anyone. Say, no, you've got a lot of people in your pipeline. You need to actually be able to make sure that you convert in them, right? Like, don't just go and add more and more leads and just think I need to just keep getting more leads because we're not getting sales. Sometimes you just need to look at your sales pipeline and be like, oh, well, we've got loads of business sitting in the pipeline, so why don't we just focus on getting that over the line rather than trying to bring a new ad campaign and get more leads in to an already constipated a sales pipeline, yeah? Like, and by the way, this is a term that someone in my academy gave to me, which says that his pipeline often has constipation, which means that he just can't get people through to the next stage. And that's why it's really important to be able to know that, because if you've got sales pipeline constipation, then adding more leads is not actually good, okay? All the leads that you've just generated, you're not giving them a good experience because you're not attending to what they want. You're not getting that lead through the process. And as a result, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. Right, so just an important thing to note, and then of course close rate. Right, we just want to know how many sales we're closing off the back of the calls that we're having. Then you got marketing side of things, so how much website traffic we've got, how many posts are going out for us. You might want to like track followers, you might want to track inbound inquiries, whatever. But for us, we're just at the stage where we just want to post, right? Like, we don't really care about like the quality of the post. We don't really care about like how many leads we're getting or how many impressions it gets, whatever. We just want to make sure that we're doing the input, right? And we'll worry about the output later because it's not ultimately that important of a factor for us. Like, we get our leads through referrals and we get our leads through ads. So social media posts in terms of their performance, like, we're not too worried about that at the moment. Later down the line we will be, but just not right now. Then we've got a new weekly and monthly newsletter. And in that we have our open rates and click-through rates, so how many people actually like click on the links that we put in there. Are people interested in the offers that we're putting in the newsletters? Are people finding a lot of value from there? And we had a 55% open rate, which I thought was pretty decent as well. So I'm fairly happy with the way that this is going too. So it's just, again, like, I didn't know these numbers, but knowing these numbers, I can understand, okay, do I need to be putting more or less effort into these areas, right? Again, it's all about decision making. The reason why you need data is so you can make better decisions on where you should be spending your time. What are the biggest areas of leverage within the business, okay? And then ad impressions and how many clicks we're getting on that as well, okay? So the next thing is the event side of things. So how many events have we hosted? Now, this isn't going to be relevant for everyone, but it's important for us to know, like, how many attendance you have, like, what was the attendance rate, like show up rate, what was the revenue that we generated, and what was the ROI as well, okay? So, like, if we are doing paid tickets, like, what's the profit on the event itself, okay? Now, here's the next thing. Just before I talk about this, right? And by the way, like, this is pretty much it. We've got action items at the bottom and any other relevant documents, right? So I'm just going to focus more on this area because I think that this is the thing that most people just don't, like, they just don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to think about. And the thing is, a lot of entrepreneurs mess up because as they go through their journey in business, they end up burying their heads in the sand and not looking up, okay? And there's two ways in business that you actually get better, right? And everyone needs to get better. If you don't, you'll stay where you are and you'll lose a lot of money. So there's two ways you get better. One is by doing more, and two is by incremental improvements between every time you do more. So as a real-time example, you've got sales calls. If I do 100 sales calls, I'm going to get better because I've got a lot of volume in. But alongside just doing the volume and getting experienced, there's the level of improvement that I have between each sales call, right? So I can say, like, after each sales call, if I do a review and I say what went well, I need to improve for the next one, and I do 100 sales calls, every sales call I'm getting like 1% better, 1% better, 1% better. And it's now not just experience that I'm adding to my skill set, but I'm actually adding like a really clear action of what I need to do to improve. Okay, so that for me is what these monthly reports are important for. Okay, I don't want to just go by in business month by month by month by month with my head in the sand, not knowing what's actually going on. I want to exactly know what the data is telling me. I want to make sure that every month that we're in business, we're improving, we're moving in a better direction. And that's what these key insights and recommendations are for. They're here to tell me like what's going well and what I need to improve. And just to give you guys an example, over November, we had 0% churn for our customers in our academy and our coaching, right? Which I thought was immense, okay? So 0% churn, that means that our delivery is pretty bloody good because people are continuing to pay for our services. That means that we probably don't need to spend a lot more time on getting more delivery and like improving that, but instead probably just getting more customers in the door, okay? And to be honest, our pipeline is pretty full as well. Like we've got a good amount of opportunities in our pipeline, so it's about converting people in the pipeline. This information wouldn't be present to me if I didn't step back, look up and say, okay, what's going on? And when you're looking up and you're looking around, you don't want to just have an emotional basis of, oh, I really feel like we should be doing this month. I feel like we should be doing... No, what is the data telling you? Your feelings literally don't mean anything when it comes to business. Like your gut feeling, like, oh, I think we should do this. It's nice, but I can't... Man, most people won't say this to you. Your gut feeling is going to be wrong a lot of the time. Okay, when I got into business, I was like, my gut feeling was on talks. We used to deliver like events and like we would do talks and things like that for universities. I'm just like, oh mate, this is it. This is the thing. I can't wait to grow and see this really expand. It was so difficult that we decided that it just isn't feasible for us. Not only like, and it's not that we didn't have a good go at it. We had a good go at it. We had other speakers that we were working with. We were like trying things out. We were getting paid for a lot of different talks that we were doing, but it just wasn't really scalable. We were really struggling to figure out how we could grow it. So that was it for us. We realized that this isn't the path. Even though I had the gut feeling, even though I was thinking like this is going to be it, your gut feeling might be wrong, but the data will give you better insights in terms of what you can actually do, right? Like I'm a big believer in data. I really am. And I think if you're really passionate about something, despite the data, you can make things work. Like, don't get me wrong on that. Like, I believe that too. But in business, there's so many things going on. There's so many decisions that you have to make on a daily basis that you're probably best off getting some good data to help you make those decisions. So that's it from this video. Like I said, if you want this monthly report and you want to be able to fill this in, great. Let me know. I'll send it over to you. If not, make your own. Like, get some kind of report in place where you can review things. I actually have a board as well where I go to advisors and I say, hey, look, this is what we've done over the past month. What do you think we should be doing? What's the next steps for us? These are my questions that I've got for you as well. At the bottom, like typically we'll just add a couple questions as well and say like, these are the questions that we have to answer. It's basic stuff, but it helps so much, okay? And last thing on this, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, you're right, I need to do monthly reports, I need to get into it, but you don't have any accountability or you're not sure if you're actually going to do it, come and join our academy. Firstly, it's free to join, so you can just get around other entrepreneurs and you can ask us for some support and advice. But secondly, if you want some accountability, we have service available that'll help you to make sure that over 2025, when you're planning things out and you're saying like, this is what I'm going to do, I'm just going to improve these stats, I just want to focus on this stat, we're here to help you. Firstly, on a strategy point of view, to help you understand how you can increase your close rate, how you can increase your show rate, how you can change your pricing, right? We'll give you advice on how to do that, but also we'll hold you accountable to the things that you say you're going to do. So if every month over 2025 you say, I just want to get better at this, I just want to get better at this, we'll hold you accountable to that. We'll hop on calls with you and tell you, like ask you, how is it going, right? If you're doing monthly reports and you want us to review them, we'll help you out with that as well, okay? So that's my advice for you. Like, get your monthly reports, get your data in order. If you don't have your data in order, you're going to really struggle to grow your business, right? Because you're not actually going to know what area of the business needs attention, right? So that's it from me. Hope you guys got a lot from this, and I will catch you guys on the next episode of the IWIN series.